Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into leadership. More specifically, how small, consistent actions can make a big difference.
Love it.
You shared some excerpts from The Art of Leadership. Small Things, Done Well by Michael Lopp.
Yes.
I'm so excited to get into this with you.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I think Lopp's approach is really interesting.
Yeah.
He's a veteran, Silicon Valley engineering leader, right?
Yeah.
He's been at places like Slack, Apple, and even Netscape way back when.
Wow, yeah.
And he kind of frames leadership as a collection of habits that you refine over time, like a craftsperson honing their skills,
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's a really good one. And it's not just theory with him either.
Right.
He actually structures the whole book around his own journey.
Totally.
From, being a manager to director to executive.
Yeah.
So you get to see how these small things that he's talking about actually become even more impactful at each level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about some magic formula or overnight success.
Right.
Lopp really emphasizes that there are no shortcuts to becoming a great leader.
Yeah.
It takes dedication and a willingness to constantly learn and adapt.
Totally. All right, so let's jump into Act 1, the manager.
Okay, let's do it.
He kicks things off with something that he considers like the bedrock of leadership.
Yeah.
One-on-one meetings.
One-on-ones. He is a huge advocate for those regular one-on-ones with your direct reports.
Yeah.
He even compares canceling a one-on-one to canceling the last meeting before a product launch.
Whoa, okay. That's a bold statement.
It is.
Like, what message does that send when you push those meetings aside constantly?
Yeah. It's saying you and your development are not a priority.
Right, exactly.
And Lopp actually learned this the hard way back at Netscape.
Oh, really?
Where he kind of discovered that those dedicated one-on-one conversations are where real trust and open communication are built.
Yeah.
And especially when things get super crazy busy.
Oh, for sure.
That dedicated time becomes even more valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of crazy busy, Lopp dives into how to handle those inevitable work crises.
Oh, yeah.
He calls it the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually has like an 8-step framework
Right.
to figure out whether to act, and if so, how to act.
He has a good story about this.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He talks about his team bringing him this potential crisis.
Right.
And you'd think a seasoned leader like him would just jump right in.
Right.
But Lopp took a step back and realized he wasn't the right person to actually solve it.
Interesting. So he delegated.
He did.
That's a really important point, I think, for all of our listeners out there.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the best way to lead is to step back and empower your team.
Yeah.
Right? Don't let urgency dictate your actions.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to take time to assess the situation.
Gather the information.
Yeah, get all the information and then make an informed decision.
Exactly.
Love it. And then there's this meeting blur. That feeling we all get when we're just back to back to back in meetings all day long. And Lopp doesn't just acknowledge it. He gives some strategies to actually stay focused and productive.
That's good, because I need those.
Yeah.
I definitely suffer from meeting blur.
One of the things that he suggests is to pre-cache information before each meeting.
Okay.
So basically just ask yourself, what do I need to know or do to be prepared?
That makes sense.
Simple, but it can save you so much time and mental energy.
Totally.
And I thought this was really interesting. He challenges us to see those seemingly marginal meetings as learning opportunities.
Okay.
There's always something to gain.
Even if it's just a connection with somebody.
Even if it's just a new perspective.
Yeah.
Or a chance to, build a connection with somebody exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about shifting your mindset from I have to be in this meeting.
Totally.
And what can I learn from this meeting?
I love that reframe.
Right? It's powerful. And Lopp addresses something that I think a lot of new managers fall into.
Okay.
Which is trying to do everything themselves.
Oh, yeah.
He calls it the new manager death spiral. That's accurate.
I love that name for it.
It is.
Because it can really sabotage your team's growth.
For sure.
If you are micromanaging and eroding trust and burning yourself out, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Totally.
What Lopp emphasizes is that delegation isn't just about getting tasks off your plate.
Right.
It's about empowering your team to develop their skills and grow.
Exactly. It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
If you want to go far, go together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he makes this really important point about the nature of management itself.
Okay.
He says it's not a promotion.
Uh-huh.
It's a totally different role.
It is a different job.
That requires a whole new set of skills.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that you're not just doing more of what you were doing before, but at a higher level.
Right.
It's like a fundamental shift in how you approach your work and your interactions with the team.
So Act A really lays this foundation for Lopp's approach to leadership.
And I think for me, what really stood out is his focus on building trust. Whether it's through those consistent one-on-ones or effective delegation or thoughtful crisis management.
Yeah.
Trust seems to be at the heart of everything he does.
Absolutely. And I think it's not just what he says, but how he says it.
Oh, yeah.
Lopp really brings these concepts to life with his personal anecdotes.
Yeah.
And his little humorous observations, which makes it feel really relatable and engaging.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's a fun read.
It is. Ready to level up to Act 2?
Oh, yeah.
Where Lopp explores the role of the director.
Yeah, bring it on. I'm curious to see how his approach kind of evolves as he takes on more responsibility in a wider scope, you know?
Well, he starts by acknowledging that stepping into a new leadership role, especially at that director level, can be really uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's so much to learn, new dynamics to navigate.
Yeah.
And it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
So what's his advice for handling that discomfort?
Yeah, does he have like one of his handy frameworks for us?
Yeah, he does. He calls it the blue tape list.
Okay.
It's simple, but it's surprisingly effective. Basically, when you start in a new role, you create a list of everything that feels broken.
Okay.
Things you want to change or fix.
I can see how that would be tempting. You know,
Right.
coming in with fresh eyes, you see all these areas for improvement, and you're ready to jump right in and like make your mark.
Exactly. But here's the twist.
Okay.
And it's a crucial one.
Uh-huh.
Lopp says you don't immediately try to fix everything on the list.
Oh, interesting.
You wait. You give yourself a month, maybe even longer, to really get a feel for the context of this new role.
So it's about resisting that urge to like act impulsively, right?
Exactly.
You need to give yourself time to understand the bigger picture, the history, the nuances of the team and the organization.
The whole context.
Yeah.
Because what might seem broken at first glance might actually be serving a purpose you don't yet understand.
That's so true.
Right. And then after a month, you revisit your blue tape list. And some things might have magically resolved themselves. Others might still need attention, but you'll have a much more informed perspective.
It's such a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best action is patience and observation.
Totally.
And speaking of important lessons, Lopp doesn't let up on delegation.
Nope.
He even talks about giving himself a merit badge every time he successfully hands off a project to someone else.
He has a great anecdote about this.
Oh, does he?
He deliberately gave a project that he could have done himself to a less experienced manager.
Okay.
He knew it would be a stretch for them, but he also knew it would be a huge opportunity for growth.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened? What was the outcome?
The manager rose to the occasion, the team achieved their goals, and Lopp learned some really valuable lessons about letting go and trusting his team.
So it's a win-win-win.
Exactly. Win-win-win.
I love it. And then Lopp dives into the world of recruitment.
Yes.
But he goes beyond just like the typical hiring process. He focuses on the candidate experience. He calls it the Discover, Understand, Delight framework.
Yes. I love that.
I like that too.
Yeah.
It really puts the emphasis on treating potential hires with respect and making them feel valued throughout the process.
And he has this really interesting take on the offer letter.
Oh, yeah. What is that?
He calls it the real offer letter because it's more than just a list of salary and benefits.
Okay, so like what else is he including in there?
It's about really conveying the company culture, the mission, the value.
So you're painting a picture of what it would be like to work there.
Exactly.
Not just filling a position, but inviting someone to be part of something bigger.
Yes. Inviting them to join the mission.
Love it. And then staff meetings.
Yeah, staff meetings.
Lopp is a big believer in running like efficient, productive meetings. And he shares this 3-point agenda that he uses.
Okay.
What are those 3 points?
First is updates.
Okay.
Where people share their progress and highlight any roadblocks. Then there's discussion.
Okay.
Which is where you focus on brainstorming, problem solving, making decisions. And then the third one, and I love this one, it's gossip, rumors, and lies.
Wait, gossip, rumors, and lies. That sounds a little unconventional for a staff meeting agenda item.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But Lopp's point is that by having that dedicated space to address like misinformation and clarify communication, you can actually prevent those whispers and speculations from derailing your team's focus and just creating unnecessary drama.
It's like being proactive about addressing those elephants in the room.
Exactly.
That everyone's thinking about, but no one wants to talk about.
Yes, love it.
Right. And finally, Lopp brings a little gamification into the mix.
Ooh, fun.
Right. Highlighting the importance of positive reinforcement and celebrating successes.
I like it.
He actually compares a well-timed compliment to a reward sequence in the game Peggle.
You know, I never thought about it that way, but it makes perfect sense.
Right.
When you achieve something in a game and you get that satisfying sound effect or that visual reward, it triggers this feeling of accomplishment and it motivates you to keep playing. So apply those same principles to leading a team.
Yeah.
By acknowledging and celebrating those successes, even small ones, you're creating that positive feedback loop that reinforces those desired behaviors and creates a more engaged and motivated team.
It's like that dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Right. So Act 2 is all about expanding your sphere of influence as director.
Right.
Right?
It is.
You're not just managing individuals anymore. You're building teams. You're shaping culture. You're making strategic decisions that impact the whole organization.
And Lopp's advice really reflects that shift. He's not just giving those tactical tips anymore. He's offering insights into how to navigate the complexities of leading at that higher level.
What I really appreciate is that he still grounds everything in those small things.
He does.
The seemingly minor actions and choices that can have a ripple effect throughout the organization.
Like that simple act of introduction he describes from a new employee. Just taking a moment to introduce yourself and make that connection can actually have a profound impact on team dynamics and break down those old guard versus new guard barriers.
Oh, for sure.
That can sometimes arise.
Yeah. It's a reminder that even as you move up in leadership, those human connections are still the most important thing.
Absolutely. And he reminds us that company culture is this living, breathing thing that's constantly evolving and shaping its environment. He uses this great metaphor of a creek running through a forest.
Okay.
It's always flowing, carving its path and influencing that surrounding ecosystem.
So as a leader, you're not trying to control the creek,
right?
But rather understand its flow and make strategic interventions when necessary.
Exactly. You can't dictate culture, but you can influence its direction.
Love that. That's a really powerful image. And it leads us right into this really intriguing concept of anti-flow.
Yes.
What exactly is anti-flow?
So anti-flow is like this state of high creative entropy.
Okay.
Think of it as that time when you deliberately step away from the structured, task-oriented world and you allow your mind to wander and explore. Lopp believes that by scheduling this unstructured time for exploration and brainstorming, you can actually unlock these aha moments that spark innovation.
He actually shares his own personal process for generating anti-flow, which includes things like long bike rides and going down internet rabbit holes.
He's up that.
Right? Oh. It's about giving your mind the freedom to make those unexpected connections and explore those tangents that you might otherwise dismiss.
Totally. It reminds me of his point about finding learning opportunities in those seemingly marginal meetings.
Yeah.
It's about being open to new ideas and perspectives, even in those unexpected places.
And often those aha moments can lead to breakthroughs. Right. Whether it's a new product idea or a more effective way to manage your team.
Absolutely.
Right. And then Lopp kind of shifts gears to a more structural aspect of leadership, talking about the importance of building a meritocracy.
Yes.
He's a really strong advocate for defining clear career paths and promoting based on merit.
That's important.
It's about creating that fair and transparent system where everyone has the opportunity to advance based on their contributions.
Yes.
Not just their title or tenure.
And he doesn't want leadership to be limited to managers.
Yeah.
He wants to empower people at all levels to step up and lead.
I love that.
So to address those inevitable workplace rumors that can sometimes sap morale and create those distractions, Lopp provides this framework for understanding and addressing them.
He makes a really insightful point that rumors often stem from fear and a lack of information.
It's true.
Instead of trying to track down the source of the rumor, Lopp suggests asking yourself, what truth might this be reflecting? What question is this rumor trying to answer?
It's a much more constructive approach.
Right.
By understanding the underlying concerns that are fueling those rumors, you can address them head on and build a more transparent and trusting work environment.
And I love how that connects back to his earlier emphasis on clear communication.
It does.
It seems like that's a recurring theme throughout the book.
It is.
And for good reason. And then he brings in a pop culture reference with his take on Kobayashi Maru management.
Oh, yes.
Which he draws from that famous no-win scenario in Star Trek.
The Kobayashi Maru, the simulation where no matter what you do, you're doomed to fail.
Right. It's designed to test your character and your decision-making under pressure.
Exactly. And Lopp uses this to illustrate those really challenging situations where there's no easy answer.
Mm-hmm.
And his argument is that the best way to handle a Kobayashi Maru situation is to prevent it from happening in the first place.
So it's all about being proactive?
Yes.
Right, anticipating potential problems before they blow up.
Exactly. He suggests creating a detailed communication plan before launching any major change or initiative.
Okay.
By getting ahead of the curve and making sure everyone is informed and aligned, you significantly reduce the chances of things going sideways.
So smart.
And he talks about building what he calls a signal network, which is basically a group of trusted individuals who can provide you with critical information.
Okay. So it's like having a radar system for potential issues or opportunities.
Exactly. And he has this really interesting way of categorizing information based on its criticality and its freshness.
Okay.
This helps leaders prioritize and focus their attention on what matters most.
And even in the midst of being an executive and like the whirlwind of that, he really stresses that it's crucial to carve out time for focused work.
He does. He calls this a precious hour.
Okay.
And he recommends blocking off 1 hour each day for deep thinking and creative work.
I love that. I definitely need to try that.
It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and let those bigger picture things slip.
Totally. And speaking of valuable insights, Lopp shares his personal experience with finding a mentor.
Yes.
And the impact it had on his leadership journey.
It reinforces his belief that everyone needs someone they can trust to provide honest feedback and guidance. And then on the flip side, he encourages leaders to create what he calls a RAND's user guide for themselves.
A RAND's user guide, what is that?
It's basically a document that outlines your working style, your communication preferences, and your core principles.
So it's like giving your team a roadmap.
Exactly.
To understanding how you operate and what makes you tick.
Yes. Transparency and clear expectations can go a long way in building trust and streamlining communication.
Love that. And to wrap up Act 3, Lopp delivers a powerful message about the importance of kindness as a leadership principle.
Yes. He shares a story about a friend who leads raid groups in the video game Destiny. Which is a pretty intense and competitive environment.
It is. It is.
And even in that setting, his friend demonstrates that kindness is actually the most effective way to build trust and motivate teams.
It's kind of a surprising example, but really inspiring.
It is.
And Lopp's point is that kindness isn't just about being nice. It's a strategic advantage.
Right.
It's about creating a more positive and supportive work environment where people feel valued and respected, which ultimately leads to better results.
Absolutely.
So Act 3 takes us to the executive level, where the stakes are higher, the decisions are more complex, and the impact of your leadership is really felt across the entire organization.
And what's interesting is that his advice kind of evolves from those tactical tips to more strategic insights.
Yeah.
He's not telling you how to manage your day-to-day anymore.
Right.
He's offering guidance on how to cultivate a thriving company culture, how to navigate those high-stakes situations, and inspire your team to achieve great things.
And he does it all with this really engaging blend of personal anecdotes, humor, thought-provoking questions that make you really reflect on your own leadership style.
Yeah.
It's not just a book. It's an invitation to a conversation.
I like that.
So we've covered a lot of ground with Lopp's insights from managing to directing to leading as an executive. What does this all mean for our listeners, out in the real world?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? It's one thing to kind of absorb all these concepts.
Right.
But the real challenge, and where the growth happens, is in applying them to your own leadership journey.
And I think Lopp really anticipates that he actually offers some homework.
Oh, does he?
At the end of the book. He suggests that you take some time for self-reflection.
Okay.
To actually define your own leadership principles.
Interesting.
And he provides this really useful framework called Vision, Strategy, Tactics, and Judgment. And it helps you think about how you're actually allocating your time and energy as a leader.
I like that.
And the key here is to be honest with yourself.
Right.
He encourages you to rank yourself on each of these elements.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a powerful exercise.
Right.
To see, where are you strongest? Where do you have room to grow?
Totally. And I think it can help you pinpoint those areas where you can actually have the biggest impact.
I think so, too.
Yeah. And he reminds us that leadership is a journey, not a destination. It's about constantly learning, adapting, and evolving your approach.
What I find so compelling about Lopp's whole philosophy is that it's really deeply rooted in respect for people.
Totally.
Whether he's talking about building trust through those one-on-ones or empowering your team through delegation or just simply being kind.
Yeah.
It's clear that he believes in the power of human connection.
Yeah, I agree. And so much of what we've talked about today kind of comes back to that idea, right?
It does.
Connecting with your team on a human level and creating an environment where everyone feels valued and supported.
Totally.
Yeah.
If you had to pick just one small thing from this whole deep dive to start doing differently, what would it be?
Yeah. What resonated most with you? Is it committing to those weekly one-on-ones without fail?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's becoming more intentional about giving compliments and celebrating your team's successes.
Maybe carving out that precious hour for focused work or building your signal network.
Right. Lopp doesn't give you this prescriptive formula.
Yeah.
He gives you a toolbox.
He does.
Filled with all of these different strategies and insights that you can adapt to your own unique style and the specific challenges you face.
Exactly.
So as you move forward, remember that it's those small, consistent actions done well that can truly make a difference.
They really can.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the art of leadership.
This was fun.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Me too. Yeah. And remember, leadership is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep making those small things count.
Yes. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into powerful ideas.